ABC Television's live coverage of the finals day in the Australian Airlines South Pacific 10-pin bowling classic. Now, 10-pin bowling has been a much maligned sport, and in fact most people think that it's pretty easy. Well, indeed it is easy in the sense that anyone can have a game, but to compete at this level isn't easy. So let's, before we go any further, just take a quick look at what's involved in a game of 10-pin bowls. Firstly, of course, the ball. Now, anybody knows that a 10-pin bowling ball is heavy. Well, anyone who's ever tried to pick one up. And the balls you'll be seeing used today will range between 12 pounds and 16 pounds. So you can imagine it takes a fair bit of strength and a fair bit of control to manoeuvre these heavy objects, not just to get the arm up and deliver the things and keep carrying them around, but to get the right line and direction, which is required to hit the targets in the right way. Now, the target, it's pretty well known, they're 10 pins, but watching on TV, you may think these 10 pins are sort of right on top of each other, maybe only a couple of inches between them, you think? Well, this is the actual real distance between the pins. Now, that's about 8 inches. 10-pin bowling is still in imperial measures. 8 inches between the pins. The ball is 8.5 inches wide, so you can actually hit 2 of them at once, but of course there's 10 of them, so that means it's quite a tricky target. And in fact, there's about 22 inches between the front pin and the back pins, so having hit the front pin, there's quite a bit of room to manoeuvre and still miss the pins that are at the back. Now, having said all of that, you've also got to bear in mind that the people you're watching this afternoon have been competing over the last 4 days, some of them having played up to 39 games in these last 4 days. So there's been quite a lot of fitness, a lot of stamina involved, not to mention a lot of nerve and a lot of concentration. My co-commentator this afternoon will be Steve Mackey. Steve, of all these facets that have come into play in this 4-day tournament, what do you think's been the most important?
Well, I think the mental game's been the most important here. Those that are strong of mind and body have been able to withstand the pressure of this particular event. There's nothing like it in the country. And the finalists that we're going to see this afternoon are the ones that have been really strong-willed and strong of mind. They've been able to put up with the tough breaks that they've had, and they've come through for the laurels. Any
particular performances that you think deserve special mention?
Yes, the junior bowlers. It's the first time we've had junior bowlers in this particular tournament in 22 years, and they've really performed well. I think the future of Australian bowling is well and truly in good hands.
And of course, the future of Australian bowling, to a point, depends on today, because the winners of the men's and women's will represent Australia in the World Cup. What exactly does the World Cup of 10-pin bowling involve?
Well, there's 43 countries in it this year in Copenhagen. It's one of the biggest entries ever. And, of course, if we can win the World Cup, it all augurs well for the future of adult bowling as well.
I think I know what your answer's going to be. Which game are you looking forward to most this afternoon?
Well, I think the women's final, because Jeanette Baker-Flynn's a big chance in that.
I thought you were going to say that.
We're hoping that, you know, we'll see a good match there.
Well, the first game we're going to see this afternoon is the grand final of the boys. Russell Hinton from Grafton will be playing Craig Bottomley of Brisbane.
Yes, and it was a good match to get Craig Bottomley through to this final. Here's Russell Hinton now. We're having a look at him, and he's got a very impressive record. He won the Brisbane Area Masters in 1985. And was a member of the President Shield Queensland team, a finalist in Junior Cups in Sydney and Canberra. And he won the 1986 Australian Junior Masters with an average of 192 at this centre. So he's certainly got some form on the board. Well, his opponent in this grand final match is Carl Bottomley. Carl, arguably Australia's best junior 10-pin bowler. And at 17 years of age, he's set all sorts of scoring records in various tournaments. Carl's had a 205 average in the Coca-Cola Champion of Champions tournament up in Brisbane, a 209 average to win the Australian National All events, and he has an Australian 3-game record series of 758. That's 256, 235 and 267, so he's certainly a young man who can string together some big scores. Carl Bottomley of Queensland, and he went through some torrid times to get into this match against Craig Chandler, who finished 3rd in the tournament. Chandler and Bottomley tied at 193 apiece in the semi-final, and then they had to go into another tiebreaker, and Bottomley was successful in that. But what a ball he bowls, and it should be a very good match, Debbie. These two bowling for the Australian Boys Junior South Pacific Classic.
Well, both bowlers have had their 2 practice balls now, so we should be just about to see the first ball bowled in earnest of the boys' final.
Yes, we'll put the boys first today, and the girls' final will be following this. Carl Bottomley. He really lifts the ball out of the lane, but he's opened up with a difficult one there. Wide open split. And Russell Hinton. Both of these bowlers bowling very quickly, aren't they?
Yeah, you were saying earlier, you're surprised at the pace of the junior competitions so far this week.
Yes, they're unbelievably quick. I guess as they get older, they get a bit slower or something, but that was very fast. And Bottomley opening the first frame. So Russell Hinton now really lifts the ball well out onto the lane. Oh, a tough break. And some of the spectators clapping that. They were clapping the open frame. They're sitting in a position where they can't see that corner pin that remains standing. Well, Bottomley a pin behind after the first frame, just getting himself set. He may have realised that he bowled a little bit too eagerly in that first frame. He really lifts that ball well out on the lane. Look at this one come back. Not quite far enough. Oh, that's a nice smooth release. Oh, great shot. Russell Hinton then showing us why he's the Australian Junior Masters champion with that well-needed strike in the second frame, and Bottomley in trouble, Debbie.
You'd almost think it'd be harder to do what he just did then than to knock all 3 over, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. If he wanted to do it, of course, that wouldn't happen.
So 2 open frames wouldn't be the sort of start Carl Bottomley was expecting?
No, it's not the sort of thing that dreams are made of, that's for sure. Maybe nightmares, but not dreams. Hinton certainly seems like he's lined up. He hit the head pin well that time. That looks better. Well, good pin action. And the pin action, you see the ball there very lightly hitting that front pin, but that ball's turning so much as it goes down towards the pins that they've really moved them around. Well, that's a spare, and he's a handy leader now.
As you say, the pace here is frightening.
Yes, I doubt whether they could bowl 39 games at that pace, but these boys and the girls don't muck around. They really get stuck into the game.
For those of you who are wondering how it can possibly be happening so quickly, it is, of course, on 2 lanes side by side. So you're watching more or less 2 lanes being used simultaneously. They're almost bowling at the same time. They're bowling so quickly, one after the other.
Ooh, nice smooth lift that time. It sounded good from up here. A good result.
6 pin is still rocking, but it didn't go down.
Oh, yes. Let's have a look at that ball. We'll see this strike again. This ball comes up out of nowhere and rips the pins.
Well, I think they haven't left as much time for a replay there, Steve, so we'll have to move right along, folks.
We certainly are moving right along.
The boys want to realise that if they want any of their glorious shots replayed for the viewers, they'll have to slow down. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Russell Hinton has done that twice now.
Carl Bottomley.
.56 now in the 4th frame for Carl Bottomley, 63 for Russell Hinton in the 4th, only 7 pins the difference. both sparing that time. He made an adjustment from that last time that he went for it and recovered at that time. But that's the problem with a big hooking ball like Russell Hinton. He's always likely to chop those front pins off. Russell Hinton is still ahead, and that will help his chances a little. Ooh, he almost left the same thing. Well, I've never seen anyone bowl faster than Carl Bottomley. It's overwhelmed us. Very smooth release. We were talking earlier in the introduction about the release, and Russell, when he's got good timing and he gets to the foul line at the right pace, that ball sails sweetly out there, doesn't it? Yes, a strike now for Carl Bottomley in the 7th. He needs to start a string of those. He's fairway in arrears, but that's the way champions answer strikes. 20 pins the difference.
So both bowlers have registered 2 strikes. The difference has been in between.
Yes, Carl's left too many splits, and he's really rushing. I think when he has a look at this match in replay later on, you'll know exactly why he's in arrears at this stage. Russell a little guilty of rushing up there too, but he seems to have his thoughts collect a little more than Carl does.
Do you think it is perhaps nerves that tends to make them rush a final like this?
Yes, probably is nerves. Of course, the youngsters never been on TV before, and it would make a difference to their thinking, I guess. But they've been into some big situations. Both of them have played for Australia in overseas tournaments, so they shouldn't be strangers to pressure situations. Oh, blowing the hair away from his eyes. Let's hope he finds a strike under there. Given it plenty of air, and he's found one in the 8th frame. That's about his last chance with a strike in the 9th. He needs to keep going now in the last frame. Oh boy, Russell's been pulling the ball high on that lane often. 140 in the 8th plays 122, 18 pins the difference, with Bottomley working on a strike in the 9th frame. Ball almost running away from him, but he got the spare, so still the leader going into this last match. Well, Carl, a big frame for him now. He produced the goods when he needed it in the semi-final game. Let's see if he can do it again. He needs a strike on this shot. Oh, it's a good ball.
It's going to be a tricky one. So there's the situation.
122 in the 8th plays 140, but of course in the 9th frame Russell had a spare and Carl had a strike in the 10th. Oh, let's have a look at that. That was a great effort. Oh, jeez. How did that miss? Well, there's a confusion with the score, and they have to fix the score up.
So I imagine he'll want to know exactly what he needs off this. Oh, and
that's a win.
Strike. What a last-minute comeback from Carl Bottomley. Yes,
it's been a big effort by Carl Bottomley, those 3 strikes. Let's see if he can get just one more. Three strikes working. Oh, look at those 2 pins.
Oh, one up, one down. Yes.
Oh, boy.
They rocked.
Well, that could have been anything. And that's the end of Russell Hinton. He's going to lose the final. And Carl Bottomley, that man there, the winner of the match, by 181 to 166.
I don't know if they broke any 10-pin bowling record, Steve, but I think they might be breaking a time record.
Yes, I think they did. They break that record for sure. And a win to Carl Bottomley, the first ever junior South Pacific Classic champion, beating Russell Hinton of Grafton, 181 to 166, 15 pins the difference. Well, that was a pretty good match.
Sensational comeback.
Yes, he only struck twice, and Bottomley had 5 strikes, but of course that timely 3 strikes in a row got him the win. Well, the next match is going to be the girls' final, and that's between Debbie Wood and Teana Peake. The girls ready to move into their well, Debbie Wood, the girl with the long hair, and Teana Peake from Perth. Well, Debbie Wood has bowled her first of 2 practice shots. Debbie, 18 years old, from Morwell in Victoria. She was the top qualifier earlier this morning, but then lost that spot to Teana Peake in the last of the 11 match play games. Debbie's won the Latrobe Valley and Victorian Country Masters tournament. She's been in the President's Shield team for 2 years in a row, and she won the ATBC, Australian 10-Pin Bowling Congress National Classic All Events, with an average of 186 over her 9 games, and she also won the national singles title with 599 for 3 games. She bowls a 14-pound ball.
Quite a lot of competitors from the country have done well in this competition, Steve.
Yes, there's lots of country people in it, and Teana Peake, though, from the city of Perth. And just 12 months ago, this girl was bowling a reverse hook, a backup ball, and now she's changed to a hook ball, and she's improved out of sight. Tina's 16 years of age. She won the 1984 and 1985 West Australian State Masters. She bowls at Cannington Lanes in Perth, and she won the 1986 Australian 10-Pin Bowling Congress National Open All Events title. She also bowls a 14-pound ball. Both girls pretty close in ability in leagues. Debbie, 165 average for Tina in league, and 171 for Debbie Wood. So there's not much in it in relation to scoring ability there. Both of them bowl totally different shots to each other. Tina bowls a hook ball, as I said, and Debbie bowls a reverse hook, a backup ball. Well, we're about to commence the girls' grand final. Debbie Wood of Victoria. Can she win the title for Victoria? There's lots of Victorians coming up in the men's and women's finals today, so it'll be very interesting to see if Victoria can dominate the tournament.
And if you blinked, you may have missed the final of the boys' competition, which was won by Carl Bottomley. And the girls' final, we don't expect to be bowled at quite the same incredible pace, but it's, let's see, Teana Peake.
Well, what a nice, oh, look at that.
It just about
well, that pin's going
across.
to have, yes, that pin will have to be restood. And now Debbie Wood, her first shot. Oh, what a good start for Debbie. We'll have another look at her strike. And here goes the ball. It's a reverse hook. You can see it going into the pocket a different way, and the pin comes off that side wall and takes the striker. That was a good-looking one. And that's her pocket. She aims for the pin numbers 1 and 2, and she hit it perfectly. Well, Teana had a bit of bad luck then. That pin should have gone, but it didn't, and it's been restood back up for her to go at. And that's a spare.
When you say the pin had to be restood, Steve, I presume that's because it was moved by the ball out of its regular position.
That's right, and the machine couldn't pick it up and, of course, knocked it over, so it had to be restood as a 4-pin. That was what it was, although it ended up as probably a 4.5 pin on the pin deck.
Debbie Wood.
Well, Debbie really gets that 14-pound ball down there at quite a pace. Tina's a much improved bowler. Look at this nice style, nice follow through, and what a great shot that one was.
A bit of delayed reaction there from the 7-pin, but it finally toppled.
Let's have another look.
Well, that looked like the boys' final again. It was so fast.
Yes. Debbie's covered the spare. So 20 apiece in the first frame, and Debbie, a very demonstrative bowler. You might have seen her earlier, Debbie. She was jumping up and down and really enjoying herself out there, and that's what the game's all about at this level. There are some people here who in the sport who don't seem to enjoy it when they get to this top level, but these girls really do show some emotion. Debbie, one of the most animated bowlers we've seen. Well, that's 9 count now for Teana in frame 3, and Debbie needs a strike to stay in the lead. Will it go? It's not going. Look at that pin. 3.5 pounds of nuisance value, that one. And a very nice smooth release by Teana Peake has put her in the lead by 3 pins. 40 plays 37. Very strong arm that Debbie has. The way she gets that ball down there, I guess she's developed some muscles from really throwing that ball down so quickly. It's quite a healthful sport, 10-pin bowling. It's been shown that 10-pin bowling is as vigorous as tennis and golf. Well, that was an extremely fortunate shot there by Teana Peake. And a most unfortunate shot for Debbie Wood, who's come back with 2 splits in a row now. Well, she's 14 pins behind, and she's got this split confronting her. What would you do if you had this one, Debbie?
Go home, I think.
Close your eyes and hope for the best.
Wave the white hanky. No, but I'm sure she's got a more technical answer.
She's done the right thing there by going for 2 in a 1-game match where tiebreakers are bowled 2 frames at a time. It's always very wise in those situations to go for the most number of pins that you can get.
It's very easy to miss out altogether if you tried looking too fancy.
That's right. Lots of games have been won and lost by the miss of a pin, but what a great ball that was. Gee, I'm really impressed with Teana Peake's style. And a lovely follow through.
That's her 4th strike so far, isn't it? Yep.
Oh, Debbie Wood in all sorts of trouble here.
She keeps leaving herself a nasty mess to clean up after the first ball.
Yes, and quite nervous, I would think. Well, again, she'll be playing it safe, I would think, and just going for the 1 pin. She's going for the pin number 4. She's covered that, but she's a long way behind now.
So 3 open frames in a row for Debbie Wood. She's got the towel on her face. I don't think she's going to throw it in, but she's certainly
Well, it is white.
Looking frustrated, yes. Yes, guess all that early exuberance seems to be dimmed a little. But here's Teana Peake. Slightly less emotional approach.
Yes, very cool, calm and collected. She looks like she knows exactly what she's doing out there, and that was what I was saying before. The mental game is everything in this level of play. Well, there's a comeback for you.
She was up and into that delivery very quickly after Teana Peake, and
we'll have a look at the pin action there. Look at that. Boy, that was devastating pin action. But Teana just quietly going along there, and she's 44 pins ahead in the 5th frame. 64, plays 108. This girl, Debbie, has to really start a string of strikes. She needs about 3 or 4 strikes in a row. Certainly this one needs to be a strike to give her a chance. A tough break. Could have been, but
at least there's only one left this time. It's a bit easier than she's set herself after the last couple of first deliveries.
Oh boy, that was a cave-in. Those lightweight bowling balls, 14-pounders and 13-pounders, always tend to make the pins cave in rather than fly over the top, but a ball of Debbie's speed does all sorts of things. Well, 84 plays 128, still 44 the difference. We're into the top of the 8th frame now, and Teana Peake on a strike, and wrap it all up with another one here. She's got a very good style, this young lady. Oh boy. Well, that's opened the door a little bit for Debbie. She'll have to force her way through it, though, with a few strikes of her own. You don't win matches usually by the other person's mistakes. You usually win them by producing the goods as required. Well, she's got a smile on her face, a good attitude, and 2nd place in the 1st ever Junior South Pacific Classics. Nothing to be too upset about, is it? Well, if Debbie can get the spare now in the 8th frame, that'll close the gap a little, but still about 30 pins behind. She needs this spare, which she's got. Well, she could be about 34 pins behind now. About 10 pins leeway that time has been caught up. But this girl, Teana Peake, let's have a look at her style now as she goes up, holds it nice and high, pushes it out on the 2nd step. Very good follow through. Look at that, right up in the air when she lets the ball go. A requisite in all the individual sports, golf and tennis. You've got to follow through after the initial point of delivery. That's a good comeback by Debbie Wood. She needs to get 3 more of those in the 10th frame. Let's have another look at that one.
It's Teana Peake.
Oh, yes. Look at this one. Oh, she got it the other way around, but it was a good effort. Normally you'd try to have the ball go in between those two, but well, we're back with Debbie Wood, and if she can get a couple of strikes here, she'll put the pressure back on Teana. She needs this first one. She's got it. She's a chance.
Well, will we see another finish like the one Carl Bottomley staged in the boys' final? Finished off with a string of strikes. Here's Teana Peake, who's leading.
Oh, Teana. Oh, she was lucky to get that last pin out. That could help her win the game if she'd only had a 7 count there. That would have been a bit closer, but I think Tina's just got enough pins up her sleeve now. Debbie Wood going through the motions. Would love to finish strongly, and she did. She had 2 strikes and a 9, so that'll be a game in the 170 odds, and Teana Peake already in the 180 pluses. That's a spare. That'll give her a game in the 190s, and I think we could be well seeing a future Australian women's champion there. Teana Peake, very cool and calculating in that final match. She didn't let anything ruffle her. She took a lot of time. And that's a finishing score of 171 for Debbie Wood. Pretty good effort with all those open frames in the middle, 3 of them. And a game there of 194 for Teana Peake. A great performance by her to become the first Australian junior girls South Pacific Classic winner.